On this episode of the I'm Not Dumb But podcast, we embark on a journey into the heart of Mesopotamia, to a time where gods walked among mortals, shaping the fabric of human existence. We take a deep dive into the mystery of the origins of these gods. I'm not dumb, but who are the Anunnaki? Were they really ancient gods or something else? Welcome
to the I'm Not Dumb But
podcast, where we won't claim to have the answers to life's deepest questions,
but we'll give you an exciting journey
into the realms of knowledge you never knew you needed.
Might be mainstream,
but not common knowledge. From artificial intelligence to conspiracy theories, no topic is too taboo for us to explore. Let's get curious together. I'm your host, Caesar, joined always by Chris.
Yep.
Rob.
Hello.
And Victor.
How y'all doing?
What's up, fellas? How y'all doing tonight?
Good, man. I can't wait to hear about ancient Mesopotamia.
Are we going to travel back in time? Do you have a time machine?
Let's get that time machine.
We're going to travel. You know what? On this episode,
you should charge people
$250.
Yeah.
For a cup of coffee.
This is
jump in a time machine with four strangers that may do a podcast.
This is $300,000 because we actually have a PS5 controller.
Oh, wow.
So we have to inflation. So on this episode, we're going to give people what they want, man.
People want answers.
People want to know the truth.
I want to know the truth. What's happening?
The truth is out there.
And we're going to talk about the Anunnaki. But before we jump into the Anunnaki, we got to talk about the ancient Sumerians, right? So let's travel back in time.
1.21 gigawatts.
That's one small step for man.
And then the dinosaurs came. So, Grace, the only true wisdom consists in knowing that you know nothing.
Back in time to everybody's favorite phrase from world history, the Fertile Crescent. You guys remember that phrase, right? The cradle of civilization.
I remember the first time I entered the Fertile Crescent.
Was it long? Because I doubt it.
It wasn't long. I was there for only maybe a few minutes, but it was
there a lot
the
of
best
crying
time of my
involved?
life. Only after.
We've all been there.
Cradle of civilization. And who were these Sumerians, right? So while the origins of the Sumerians...
Where is this?
Yeah, where is ancient Mesopotamia?
This is in Africa.
Is it in Africa?
Ancient Sumeria?
Yeah.
Where in Africa?
An area called Sumer, right? That's between the Tigris and Euphrates River, which is now present-day Iraq and Syria.
Hold up.
I think that's the Middle East. I don't think that counts as Africa.
Does it?
Pretty sure Africa starts in Egypt.
Yeah. It's just slightly up and to the right.
So then, cut that out then.
No, we're keeping it in there.
You done messed up, Aaron.
Anyway, so the ancient Sumerians are considered one of humanity's first great civilizations, right?
You're welcome.
Their homeland was Mesopotamia, called Sumer, and they emerged roughly around 6,000 years ago. Like I mentioned, around the floodplains of the Tigris and Euphrates River. So, the Sumerians played a crucial role in the foundation of subsequent Mesopotamian cultures that influenced the course of human history. And the crazy things about these Sumerians were they were super advanced. Like really, really advanced.
Advanced though?
Listen to this fucking resume as a civilization. So, they developed the earliest form of writing, cuneiform.
Okay.
Remember that shit?
Easy?
The first ones?
That dude from Lord of the Rings came up with an entire language. I mean, it can't be that hard.
Not very impressive.
Which dude?
The guy that wrote Lord of the Rings. He came up with Elvish.
I never read the books or saw the movies.
What did he say?
You never saw the movies?
Not a fan. I just...
Not a fan?
Wow.
They never,
They never what? They never...
called me. And I like stuff like that. It just never...
You never had a call? You didn't have a call? You never got a phone call? That's amazing.
They never called it, no. It wasn't my thing.
I'm very disappointed in you.
Okay, so they were super advanced.
Super advanced. Created, earliest form of writing, right? In the cuneiforms, which were like clay tablets with those like sketches on it. Kind of looked like fucking Wolverine was playing with with an Etch-a-Sketch.
Oh, yeah. The lines and stuff, right?
Yeah, right? So they developed that. They created that. They made developments in math and astronomy. So you can thank them for fucking algebra and geometry. So do you guys remember Pythagoras?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Algebra?
He was a Syrian?
Yes.
I mean, Sumerian?
Yeah. So these guys developed math and astronomy.
Algebra or math?
Algebra.
Algebra.
They made developments in math and astronomy. So you can thank them for algebra and geometry.
I think algebra came much later.
That's what you think.
Check that.
Well, the word algebra comes from the Arabic word al-jabbar, which means the reunion of broken parts, and can be traced back to a text produced by the renowned Arabic mathematician and scientist Al-Khwarizmi.
So Pythagoras, remember the right triangle? Well, the Sumerians made developments in geometry almost 3,000 years before this guy did. I told you, really, really advanced. So they also created the lunar calendar.
You're welcome, Chris.
Chris, have you ever wondered who came up with the concept of the 24-hour day?
No.
Do you even care, Chris?
Not really. You just...
Where's your head at, bro?
Why are you here?
Because I don't have a vision for it. I think that's why.
You still don't have a vision board?
No,
That's why we got to get you that.
That's what it is, Chris. That's what it is.
I'm curious. I want to know where the 24-hour day came from.
These people, man, the Sumerians, they literally created the concept of time. They divided day and night into 12-hour periods, hours into minutes, and minutes into seconds. And if that wasn't enough, these people invented the fucking wheel. The fucking wheel. There's more. You said you wanted to hear the resume. There's more.
I do want to hear the resume.
They created the complex irrigation system for agriculture. They created the first known city-states, built the first schools, created the first lullaby, and they even had the fucking first aquariums.
Most impressive.
Wait, they knew how to make glass?
That I don't know. Probably.
Well, how would you have an aquarium if you don't have glass?
I have
you just
no
going
idea.
to look down?
That's a modern-day aquarium. Maybe they did something else. And then lastly, do you guys remember from your English literature lit class, the Epic of Gilgamesh? You guys remember that book?
Yes, I do.
I never read that.
Never read it?
Was it epic?
It was epic.
I never read it, but it was
course.
part of my English. Yeah, it was part of my English. I kind of want to read it now. So the story talks about a king, right, who searches for an answer to immortality. And in the story, the king searches for a man named Uptanishum, who was given immortality after surviving a great flood and preserving human life and animal life on a great boat he built. That was in that book, The Epic of Gilgamesh. Does this sound familiar to you guys?
Is there a movie about it?
There's another story, another popular story about it.
Is it Noah?
Sounds familiar to Noah, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yo, I know no one from the Middle East named Noah.
Is this thing on?
Yeah, leave that one in there too, bro. Crickets and all. Yeah, that sounds similar to the story of Noah, right? But the Sumerian civilization was around 3500 BC, and the Bible was estimated to be written about 1400 to 100 AD. So that means that the difference between the Sumerian civilization and the Bible existing was 2100 years in between. So something's a little fishy here. Maybe the story of Noah was adapted by, who knows, the Bible? Maybe it's the same person? Who knows? So that's who we're dealing with, right? The Sumerians as a civilization was no joke, super smart, super advanced. And with that as a backdrop, this is when we dive into the Sumerian religion. So the Sumerians were polytheistic, right? Meaning they worship a lot of gods. Everything had its own god. Every city-state had its own god and goddess, and who was supposed to protect the cities and bring good harvest. And this is where we're introduced to the Anunnaki. It wasn't just one god. It was a collection of gods of Sumeria and of Mesopotamian culture. Scholars tell us that precise meaning of Anunnaki is debated, but one of the translations means it's princely offspring or the offsprings of An. So basically the Anunnaki is kind of like a term for the descendants of royalty. So some of these gods were An, the king of the gods, god of the heaven and sky, Enlil, the god of air, who supposedly in this myth separated heaven and earth, Enki, the god of water, Nana, who was the god of the moon and could predict the future. So based on some of these accounts, the Sumerians believed that the Anunnaki took human forms and made humans out of clay. And their roles were as gods were to either decide the fate of the humans, and humans were supposed to worship them. Other scholars think that the Anunnaki were gods of the underworld, and they would be the judges of the dead. What do you guys think about that?
What?
I'm lost.
Yeah, I'm lost.
Completely. I don't know.
Too fast?
Yeah, you just jumped from we were talking about Mesopotamia, and then all of a sudden we were talking about Anunnaki. I was like, I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Let's recap.
The Mesopotamians, the Sumerians, were the ones that created the Anunnaki.
What do you mean they created? Like they made them up?
Yes. The Sumerians were the civilization whose gods were the Anunnaki.
Okay, so they were a polytheistic group And they called their gods the Anunnaki.
The Anunnaki.
Okay.
And the ones I just mentioned were some of the major ones.
How is that different than like all other polytheistic religions in that time who had
And like
names
the
for their gods?
Egyptians and the fucking...
That's the thing. All these polytheistic religions were not. These were the first ones. That's what I'm saying.
Well, these were the first recorded ones because they created their language.
This is one of
They
the
wrote
oldest.
it down.
Yeah, this was the oldest known religion, known civilization who wrote down everything. And these were their gods, and this is what they believed in. Kind of descendants of royalty, descendants of something came down, and this is who they worshipped. That's who the Anunnaki were. It was just a series of gods that the ancient Mesopotamians or ancient Sumerians worshipped.
So, do we have any like evidence of their existence, or are we seeing anything that's like?
So we know all this information because we've found clay tablets.
So here's what we know from finding the
Clay tablets.
evidence written down.
Yes, by this civilization. You know, they found it, I think, in the late 1800s. They found like a treasure trove of all these tablets, and scholars kind of used them, deciphered them, and kind of put these things together. So that's what modern scholars, that's what mainstream scholars think the Anunnaki were. However, I like YouTube wormholes. And if you can come with me and venture off the scenic route, let's go off-roading a little bit. And I'm going to tell you what my favorite interpretation of who these Anunnaki were. And it's courtesy of a guy named Zecharia Sitchin, rest in peace, dog, who told those stupid, dumb scholar nerds, sit down, hold his beer, and this is what I think.
Hold on to your butts.
So Sitchin read these ancient tablets and other relics of Mesopotamia, and he concluded that the Anunnaki were actually extraterrestrial human-like species that lived on a planet called Nibiru. He said that the word Anunnaki actually means those who from heaven came down to earth. And he says that these Sumerian tablets tell us stories of the Anunnaki and the origin of man.
How did he come to those conclusions if he's reading the same thing that the other scholars?
So my guy he basically taught himself this fucking dead language.
Wait, what?
He taught himself.
How does he know he's translating it correctly?
That's one of the things that mainstream scholars say. Yes, he taught himself this language, and for the most part, he has the right interpretation. But there are a lot of things, because a lot of these tablets, what he did was he just kind of like took one tablet here, Hebrew here, and kind of just put all of it together in his own interpretation. So that's one of the, I guess, a critique of this guy.
So the fact that he is a self-taught,
yes,
of a thousands-year-old dead language,
yes,
and he now knows how to properly translate it.
Yes.
This all sounds like bullshit to me.
So technically, it could have been anything.
Ruling it
He
out.
could have said,
I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying.
No. True. No.
I can teach myself Latin. It doesn't mean I got it right.
True. But the thing is, a lot of the stuff that it's not him. Yes. This interpretation is him and him credit only to him.
Are there other people who know how to interpret this language and cuneiform? Are there any others who agree with his interpretation, or is the masses agreeing with the other interpretation?
No, that's why I mentioned mainstream scholars first. That's what they thought, right? The Anunnaki is an actual term. It's within those tablets that I mentioned earlier. They've seen that word 100 times. So he's not making up. And their gods, that stuff he's not making up. His interpretation is everything else. Mm-hmm. That this story that he's telling, that's his interpretation based on his readings of these tablets and other relics.
Now, in his interpretations, did any one of these tablets, did any tablet mention shawarma?
Or like a really good shawarma recipe.
Yeah, like some sort of lamb in a type of pita.
They do have 10,000 of them, so they probably haven't gone through all of them.
Okay. That's
Or it
fair.
could be like Popeye's like secret sauce. They haven't been. They're not going to tell you.
No, that's true. They wouldn't tell us. They're like, we found the original
like
shawarma
herbs and
recipe.
spices, but we're not going to tell you.
Original 12 original herbs and spices from Mesopotamia.
Yeah,
half of these those plants are dead and they don't exist. Yeah.
Love that chicken from Popeye.
So that's his interpretation, right? So the Anunnaki, he says, they have a home planet, and this home planet, which is called Nibiru, travels around our sun every 3,600 years. So it has an elliptical that travels around our sun every 3,600 years.
Okay.
So he claims that the Earth periodically encountered this planet, and these encounters have shaped ancient cultures and myths all throughout the world. And he believed that the Anunnaki, when they came down, were revered as gods. So his interpretation is these are like ancient astronauts.
So every 3,000 or so
600 years, yeah.
3,600 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
So
one rotation of this planet.
Every 3,600 years, Earth years, this planet comes close enough that the Anunnaki jump or travel from their planet to our planet to be like, hey, what's up? What are you guys up to?
Yeah.
Right?
That's what he says.
So their technology can only, travel a short distance between the planets? Like they couldn't go from the other side of the sun to us at any time? It's a very convenient space travel. Hey, we can travel through space, but only very close to your planet. Like,
so my thing is, have we been able to find their planet?
Well,
if we know their orbit.
I was going to wait on that one, but go ahead.
Oh, okay.
We have not been able to find their planet. No, because
3,600 years is a very long orbit.
As you know, astronomers say that we only have 9 planets. Well, 8
planets.
If you're not including Pluto.
Why would you include Pluto? It's not a planet.
We actually have a lot of smaller planets past.
What did you just say?
It's a dwarf planet.
Oh, but what was that second word?
Dwarf planet.
Yeah, there you go. So,
but it's a dwarf. We have a few dwarf planets.
Still a planet, right?
But then we have more than 9.
Pluto had it coming from the beginning.
That's what I'm saying. So
I think
astronomers
dwarf is a little convenient with that.
I didn't say midget planet.
Okay, all right, we're done.
Yeah, thank you, bro.
A little planet.
Yeah, you killed this
planet.
You killed this one.
Too far, Amy. Too far.
So, like I said, this is interpretation, right? So he says that there's 10 planets.
Wait, it actually sounds pretty similar to Thor, the movie.
What? Did you see Thor?
Thor, the god, comes down from heaven to Earth.
But there's no other planet.
Because it sounds like every deity.
They're in another realm. They're in another realm.
Thor's from Asgard, which he needs the Bifrost to fucking travel, all right?
Idris Elba. What are you talking about, bro?
Yeah, get your shit together.
Who brought this guy along?
They don't have Bifrost, Chris.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you.
That's the main difference.
Chris, hold
Anunnaki
on.
had said nothing about the Bifrost.
This thing is it gets even weirder, bro. It gets even weirder.
Let's yeah.
Okay.
All right. So here's their backstory. According to Sitchin, the reason why the Anunnaki came down to Earth, right, was in search of gold and other precious metals. He claims
that's fair
that their planet Nibiru's atmosphere was decaying, and our planet being rich in gold, they could use it to ionize their atmosphere.
Wait, the atmosphere was what?
So their atmosphere on their planet was decaying, and they found out
decaying.
Yeah. What did you think I said?
I thought you said decaying, as in
decaying.
Like what the fuck's a decaying?
According to Sitchin, the reason why the Anunnaki came down to Earth was in search of gold and other precious metals. He claims that their planet Nibiru's atmosphere was decaying. Better?
Yeah, I just don't understand how gold or other precious metals can revive an atmosphere.
I have no idea either.
Well, you're not using it correctly.
This is their interpretation, bro. This is his
all
interpretation.
you would technically need is what? A lot of nitrogen? Because I'm assuming that they breathe what we breathe.
I have no idea.
Well, you're assuming there.
You're assuming. I have no idea.
if you're visiting our planet, I'm assuming that you're visiting us because, like, hey, you guys.
No. You're not visiting an area because you like the atmosphere. You're visiting because it has natural resources that you like.
Oh, so they have spacesuits on.
They have spacesuits.
Okay.
Potentially.
Or their technology allows them to come on our planet and just, take our natural resources.
Space jump, because they can't really travel. They can't do space travel, but they can just jump short distances. Short space distances.
So, all right. So the gold, right? So they're in search of gold, right? And this is where I kind of intertwine stuff. Interesting note, in the book of Genesis, in the Bible, gold is mentioned 8 times. And every time gold is mentioned, it's always mentioned with God's people. And did you know that gold is mentioned more than 400 times in the Bible? So gold is pretty important.
I mean, gold's always been important because we give it value.
So the story goes on, right? The Anunnaki came, landed on Earth to what is now referred to as the Persian Gulf. They brought with them another species to help mine the gold and precious metals. And after a certain time, there was a conflict between the two species. The Anunnaki decided to create a new set of workers. And this is where the human species come to guess. Sitchin claims that as a direct result of genetic manipulation by the Anunnaki, with what he considered at the time Homo sapiens, they took genetic information from Homo sapiens with the DNA or something from the Anunnaki, did like an IVF treatment in one of the Anunnaki females, and created the human species.
Let's make a baby.
So we are a genetic mutation of the Anunnaki.
We are,
we're just a lower class of them. And we were made to work here on this planet.
Yep. Question.
Yeah.
I am the Anunnaki. Mm-hmm. I traveled here from my planet to collect the precious metals. Why just keep people in Mesopotamia? And why not just find all the gold deposits on Earth and then sprinkle their workers around where the gold is?
I have no idea.
There must have been a big deposit in the Tigris and Euphrates area.
There's big deposits all over the world, though.
They chose this one.
Wouldn't they want all of it?
I didn't know they're not still working out here.
Probably.
Well, we're collecting gold for them all along.
Fort Knox, buddy. Fort Knox, where is it?
Not in fucking Persian Gulf.
Yeah, well, it's here. And we're storing it for when they come around again.
That's
right?
possible.
And what does it say in the Bible about
Fort Knox?
No, Chris, Bible me up. What's the one where Jesus comes back for us?
The rapture?
The rapture. The rapture is the Anunnaki coming back for the gold.
Holy shit.
Boom.
No.
Yeah, I made that one up. But okay, so now we are genetically modified from themselves, and what? Like the idea is that like another mammal?
His idea is that
and they just left all the workers and bounced?
Yeah, no supervisors.
So
come on. And that's a lot of trust.
So they just like kind of went into an area, developed a little society, and then just kind of bounced with a little power vacuum and said, you guys will figure it out on your own. This sounds very familiar. I think we do this.
We will bring freedom to others and we will prevail.
Hey, there's more to that. He mentions, and this again, this is all his interpretation. He mentions that they developed human species through IVF. Ancient Sumeria, which is what I mentioned earlier, was a direct descendants of them. And
so this happened before.
All this Anunnaki stuff happened before.
Okay.
The Sumerians are just retelling the stories through, the pictures and whatever, all the hieroglyphs and all that stuff, right? They mentioned that the Anunnaki left because there was a great flood that happened. So they bounced, leaving the workers or us and go on in their stead and kind of just take it from there.
So in his interpretation, he believes that the human race is only like 6,000 years old. Is that what he thinks? He thinks that the Sumerians are the first civilization ever? Is that the thought?
Mm-hmm. But that's not just his interpretation. That's mainstream. That Sumerian culture is the oldest civilization.
Well, the oldest recorded, established one. But we know we have an idea that humans have been around for hundreds of thousands of years.
They say it's hunter-gatherers, and then boom, and then out of nowhere, this advanced civilization just appeared out of nowhere.
I mean, I wouldn't say out of nowhere. I mean, someone had to walk there, and I was like, shit, I kind of like this place.
See, that's what I don't really like about his interpretation.
What? No one's real estate shopping? Like
no Zillow?
No. I mean, it's just like 6,000 years. Like that's the only thing.
The estimate on the Tigris and Euphrates is pretty low.
Yeah, you can't even live there. You got to move out. You got to move out.
I mean, it's one banana, Michael. What could it cost? $10?
Okay, all right. I like the planet coming around every so often. I like the use us for resources.
There's more. He wrote like a whole bunch of different books on all this stuff, and I kind of just stopped.
Have we found any technology? Have we found any clues of their existence other than what they wrote?
No, that's
Wait,
it.
so they would come here in their spacesuits, obviously, because we don't know what their atmosphere composition is. They came here with space travel, and they left nothing. They took everything.
Well, remember, again, this is what he claims. This was all pre-flood.
Oh, how convenient!
So all that stuff could have been around here somewhere, and this could have been washed up by the flood.
On the bottom of the ocean now.
Yeah.
Fucking likely excuse.
Is there any like writing that like how many of these Anunnaki showed up?
That is also not in his claims, but in just mainstream archaeology. We don't know, right? Some mentioned there was 600 altogether, 300 that were for the heavens and 300 for the underworld. A lot of this stuff is they're still trying to find it, right? We have that treasure trove that we had all those like 10,000 tablets that we found, but they're just still going through it. Archaeologists need to still go into those areas and dig and excavate. So this is just based on his interpretation of those tablets, which we have a part of.
Are they trying to find more tablets?
Nah, bro. But remember, all that stuff is money. You got to fund these expeditions, so-called expeditions. And if mainstream says if this is a story that mainstream says, why would you try to fund something that completely says something else? As far-fetched as this guy is saying. If I was Bezos, I would have funded him. But this guy.
Like I just feel like his story, like the polytheistic stories are all very similar. So do we think that why do we think that they ever left? Why do we think like this is nothing new? This idea of multiple gods.
This is the first recorded of new. That's the thing, right? Mm-hmm. So there are multiple cultures, all with similar stories about their gods coming down from heaven. You got, the Incas and Mayas with the serpent gods coming down. Some of the Anunnaki, they have similar kind of qualities and stuff to some Egyptian gods. Mm-hmm. So that idea of these gods coming down from the heavens and
maybe they were everywhere.
They're here.
Or maybe they came back every so often. So when's the next time they're supposed to come back?
So his interpretation, and again, this is
I think they should have been back already at this point.
He says that the next time he postulates, because he doesn't know, he says that might be around 2080 to 2090 when Nibiru, the planet again, comes back around.
2080 to 2090, right?
Yeah.
But when did these floods happen?
Who knows?
Well, roughly, we know. Roughly, 10 to 15,000 years ago?
Yeah.
So that planet would have come back, twice around?
Yeah.
And they just didn't want to come back to us?
Well, they came back in the Mayans.
Maybe just came and collected the gold.
And the Egyptians.
They just took the gold and bounced, probably.
Well, they left a lot of gold. The largest gold deposit on Earth is in South Africa. So they really missed that one.
They missed the boat? They missed the boat on that one?
They kind of... Hey.
What an idiot! Oh, what a loser!
It's probably why they're not here anymore.
They didn't take enough gold. Their atmosphere ran out.
So yeah, that's my favorite interpretation of who these people
You said 2080?
That's what he said, 2080 to 2090.
How many years is that from now? 50 years?
So we might be around?
60 years?
Yeah, we might be around.
No, I'm going to be long dead. 60 years? We should see it, though, by now.
Well, yeah, if it's even
before the planet is 60 years away.
Yeah. We're going to see it. Even if like NASA and all these people say, oh, there's nothing out there, they're not going to stop these amateur astronomers from looking at the sky and be like, yo, there's something up there.
60 years away, we should be seeing that coming, no?
Wouldn't they want to monitor, leave a satellite in orbit or something to just be like, yo, what are these guys up to?
Maybe they did.
Because we got nukes now.
Well, that's true.
And we would have probably killed ourselves already.
Listen, apparently they left their, they left their offsprings here
Okay, but still bad parenting.
to roam and, and govern. So who knows? They're
we're
still
just
here.
the
so we believe that they left some of their.
No.
We're the workers that they left behind.
The workers,
everybody,
as well as how every story that the gods came down and the gods, intermingled with the humans and stuff. It's the same thing,
bro. Zeus intermingled with everything.
There you go.
He would like dress himself up as a goose and then just go try to like fuck some woman. And then like he'd be like, "Oh man, that's a good looking cow," and he'd like fuck a cow.
Disgusting.
Fucking,
he was wild.
He was
wild, bro.
I don't remember that from the movie Hercules, the animated.
That was after post credit scene.
Yeah, he always gotta wait till the credits are over.
Yeah. Did you leave when you saw the credits?
I think so.
You gotta wait.
It's like a whole 30-minute skit with this goose.
It's actually pretty crazy. I'm surprised Disney let that happen. But.
I was shocked.
So what do you believe? What do you think?
Listen, man, this story is wild. I have no idea. It's just interesting to me.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's wild. It's like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like
completely out of left field. And he's the only one that came up with it, most likely because,
because he's the only one who knows how to read it.
Yeah. He's the self-taught one.
He's the self-taught
who
one.
Decided to just get super fucking high.
And what is his background?
And then read it.
He was born in Russia, grew up in Palestine, but he got a degree in economics or some shit. And then he was part of like these antiquities associations. So he had access to all this stuff. So he was well connected within this space. I'm assuming that's the only way he was able to get in contact with these things. And it's funny so his origin story, I guess he was a boy and he was in class and they were going over the Bible, but in Hebrew. And they came up to one of the words. And he asked the teacher, he was like, "Teacher, I thought this word meant something." And the teacher was like, instead of telling him, "Oh, hey, good try, you know your Hebrew," the teacher basically was like, "Shut the fuck up, you don't question the Bible." And he was like, what the hell? So since then, he went on a mission to like...
So the Bible was written in Hebrew? This guy don't know what the fuck he's talking about. I think I'm more Anunnaki than this guy.
Well, he's Russian, so...
The Russians?
Yeah, he's fucked up. It is an interesting story.
It is, but was he making name for himself because of his wild stories or like his theory?
Yeah.
So when did the YouTube start following this fucking guy?
Yeah. And how many followers does this guy have?
I don't know the followers. I think what happened when like the History Channel released that like Ancient Alien series.
Ooh, I love that stuff.
That shit was awesome. That's basically they took this as like maybe a foundation and they just kind of ran with it.
Mm-hmm. But like when you hear all the different stories, they're all the same. So if every culture is coming up with these same stories, maybe there's some
truth to it.
How can all these cultures, thousands of years apart, keep developing the same idea?
What do you mean, of like just polytheism in general?
Yeah, polytheism and these different supernatural gods.
I think it's one of the reasons why I decided to go with the Sumerian, the resume, because I'm like, okay, this
OG.
This civilization was clearly amazing and advanced, and then they have this religion, and you're like, okay, like you're smart, you got all these things going, like what? And
as opposed to what other religion would they choose?
I'm not speaking of like other religions. I'm just saying, like, why have all this basis in kind of like this knowledge of all these things, and then.
But you're basing it. It sounds like you're basing it off of intelligence. Like, if you're gonna be intelligent, why come up with a polytheistic religion? Is that what you're trying to get at?
I'm just saying.
Or why would you make up these stories? I mean, these are like fucking farmers, for the most part.
Clearly not if they knew astronomy and all this.
Farmers don't know astronomy? I'm not saying they're fucking dumb. I'm just saying they made the best out of to understand whatever they can understand. And some science came out of it. Some didn't.
I think they got all that stuff done because they didn't have any TV. I mean, you ever fucking have your TV off? You get a lot of shit done. And then you look in the sky and there's no lights and you're like,
and they were drinkers. I mean, these motherfuckers got drunk probably a lot. They were probably drunk for most of their day. Yeah.
Who created beer?
That beer was like a staple. Beer was like I'm having lunch. Lunch is bread and beer. Okay, cool.
He's a drinker. He drinks.
Like these motherfuckers were buzzed. I think people in general were buzzed until about like the late 1800s. All the time.
It was the only way to get by.
Yeah, it was like, oh, you're not drinking? Okay.
Do we have any pictures of them? Actually, I think I have one.
The Anunnaki?
Yeah.
Yeah, Rob's just going to bring out a family portrait. There's my great-grandfather.
That's my uncle.
Anunnaki 1.
Yeah, my grandmother gave me this old artifact. You guys ever seen this?
Is that an iPhone 16?
It's a 3GS.
Chris, what'd you learn today, man?
Absolutely nothing. I'm still confused.
Fucking what a waste.
Chris.
What? That was the whole point, Chris.
Right, it's like story. To be honest with you, this is my first time ever hearing about Anunnaki. Is that how you say it? Anunnaki?
Chris just learned about Pop Tarts last week, so.
Well, he loves them. He loves them.
So, but the
Chris has never heard of the Middle East before today.
No, not at all. Yes, like I said, it's like this very interesting story. It's pretty cool. Like we said before, it is wild. So, I don't know if I believe any of this. I don't know. I'm still trying to understand and comprehend what the hell just happened today.
That is Mike.
Rob, what about you, man?
I love this story, honestly. Yeah, I read the Epic of Gilgamesh. It was actually great. I like to hear about the Anunnaki. It's funny because my wallpaper is actually an Anunnaki. I don't know. I follow it as someone who's Assyrian and a descendant of Babylonians and Sumerians. It's really interesting to hear and see.
Wait a minute. What is your history then? What has been brought down? What has been passed down to you then?
What do you guys tell at family reunions? What's
we do not talk about the Anunnaki
because the Babylonians.
Yeah, no. You tell really old Babylonian stories in your family gatherings. Is that what goes on? No,
you guys don't talk about. Yeah,
it was like 6,000 years ago.
That was a long time ago.
That was yesterday.
That was a long time ago. No, it's good. It's fun to hear. It's fun to hear these stories. About what people say and hear. Listen. I don't know if they were an ancient alien civilization. I think that it was a polytheistic. I think they recorded it. One of the first people to record it, or whatever we found now. But I'm in the camp that humans were hundreds of thousands of years old, and that they, when they came together and they developed these societies, they were able to collectively record what was going on, and that is a big help, right? Because it teaches people and passes information. I like it. I mean, it'd be pretty cool if it was true. We hear this story in different polytheistic religions, and I think what I would really be interested in, I love Greek mythology. I love reading about the different types of gods and what they do and the stories, the elaborate stories behind all of them. I think I would really like to hear the elaborate stories of the different Anunnaki. I think that'd be kind of fun. I don't know if there's anything around about that, or that'd be kind of cool, to read about. I did like the Epic of Gilgamesh and Enkidu's story of how they travel to find this immortal god and kill him, and it was fun to hear that story. That was kind of cool. So.
Victor, what about you, man?
I find ancient civilizations very interesting. It's kind of sad though that I don't believe we make enough effort to try to archaeological digs and try to find more information. I don't know why. It's just not a priority in our society, I guess, enough to do that. The whole science fiction part of it, I think, is just complete nonsense. Please stay off of YouTube, or like when you're listening to it, just know it's bullshit.
We don't know. It's fun to talk about. It is fun to talk about because if you thought about it, if you ever took that idea, you couldn't say it sounds plausible.
It's fun.
It's
no,
fun.
it doesn't. It doesn't sound plausible. We just put holes in it. And we don't know anything. We're dumb.
But like, you know how
I'm just saying,
when you read about like the gods and everything was always coming from the sky, and they're always giving tablets and they're giving burning bushes and they're doing miracles and everything is supernatural. It would be pretty dope if it was an alien.
Walk around the fucking desert dehydrated for about fucking 3 hours. You'll see burning bushes everywhere.
I don't know. I mean, I just think it's pretty. You can't rule it out. You can't. Everyone's coming from the sky.
I'm not ruling it out. I'm just saying. I'm not ruling it out. I'm not ruling it out.
This
all over the world, man.
That it comes from somewhere.
I'm not ruling it out. I'm just saying you have to use the evidence that you are given.
But I would like to see some angels now. I mean, something now. I got HD, I got 2160, 60. I got the 120 hertz refresh rate. Let's go. We haven't found it yet.
Were the Anunnaki real? Were they mythical gods? Were they ancient explorers from the start? Or was my man Zecharia Sitchin just straight tripping? We'll let you decide that for yourself. And if you enjoyed today's show, hit that follow button. Spread the word of this amazing podcast you discovered. We want you to be an active part of our community. Whether you have questions, suggestions, or just want to share your thoughts on our topic, we want to hear from you. Find us on Twitter at I'm Not Dumb But and on YouTube at I'm Not Dumb But Podcast. Until next time, stay curious.
Later.